Rose of Ultramarine, Imperial Purple. What's the difference? We'll find out. Welcome back to episode 3 of the series in which I compare two very similar colours from Daniel Smith. Learn what difference is, how to pick one or the other, or maybe even both on your palette. And we now have a series name, finally, episode 3. Shadi from Sadie Saves a Day suggested the name Colour Showdown, and I really like it. So we're going to be calling this series the Daniel Smith Colour Showdown. This is the episode 3 of Colour Showdown, and in this episode we are taking a look at the Rose of Ultramarine and Imperial Purple. Rose of Ultramarine is a very popular colour. I know many of my watercolour friends on YouTube love this colour because it's a beautiful colour to begin with, but it also has this subtle separation that where the ultramarine blue comes out. This paint is a convenience mix. You can mix this yourself. It is a mix of Quinacridone rose and ultramarine blue, and this is a really convenient color to have that effect. I have this on my palette and I love having it. It's a beautiful color and it's a beautiful paint to paint with. The sister color to Rose of Ultramarine that is right next to Rose of Ultramarine in the colour chart that doesn't get as much of a look in is Imperial Purple. Imperial Purple and Rose of Ultramarine are made from exactly the same pigments, both Quinacridone Rose and Ultramarine Blue. As I said, I have this on my palette. I don't have this on my palette, and when I heard this does the same thing as this, I thought I'd give it a go. I've only painted this from a dot card so far. I've since bought a tube, so it'll be interesting to see how this fares to the Rose of Ultramarine. Rose of Ultramarine by Daniel Smith is a convenience mix of PP29, which is sodium aluminium sulfur silicate, which is basically your ultramarine blue, and PV19, gamma quinacridone. This is a very common pigment that is used widely in making watercolor paints. It is a Series 1 paint. Jackson says on their website, Rose of Ultramarine is a purple hue in which the blue settles and the rose lifts. This separation gives the colour a multi-dimensional quality that self-mixed purples struggle to achieve. This product is particularly effective when juxtaposed with a phthalo blue. It is classified as excellent light fastness, transparent, granulating, and medium staining. Next up is Imperial Purple by Daniel Smith. Just like the Rose of Ultramarine, Imperial Purple is a combination of the ultramarine blue and the gamma quinacridone. However, Imperial Purple is a Series 2 colour. So why is Imperial Purple Series 2, meaning more expensive, compared to Rose of Ultramarine, which is Series 1? This is just my personal theory, but I think it's because the Imperial Purple must contain more of the gamma quinacridone. I looked into the price difference between ultramarine blue and the quinacridone rose, which is made out of purely PV19, and the ultramarine blue is a Series 1, whereas quinacridone rose is a Series 2. From that limited amount of information, I am guessing that the price difference is because the Imperial Purple has more quinacridone rose in it. Jackson's website says that Imperial Purple is a deep regal purple that, when diluted, becomes a delicate pale lavender. This product is perfect for capturing the petals of an iris or the end of a glorious sunset. It is classified as excellent light fastness, semi-transparent, low staining, and granulating. We are back and the paints have dried nicely. This side is Rose of Ultramarine and this side is Imperial Purple. First off, the thing I noticed, and this isn't the paint's fault, it's probably my fault for not really paying too much attention, but I thought that the Imperial Purple, because it's called Imperial Purple and you see royal purple as being very rich and dark, that this was going to come out a lot darker and more intense and richer color than it came out. I was kind of imagining like a royal purple and in terms of paint like a dioxazine purple, but it didn't. It's actually quite pale It's certainly a lot paler than I thought it was going to come out. So that's the first thing I noticed, and again, as I said, that's not the paint's fault, that's just my misconception, and I just wanted to clear that up for anyone else that might be thinking that the Imperial Purple is supposed to be darker. It's not. It's about the same intensity as the Rose of Ultramarine. Overall impression wise, they're the same. They literally are the same. It's just one's more pinky, warmer color, and the other one is a cooler, bluer color. Now this is series 1 and this is series 2, which means this is more expensive than this color. And initially, because these two are both made out of Ultramarine Blue and Quinacridone Rose, and Quinacridone Rose being a series 2 color, I thought Imperial Purple must have more of the more expensive Quinacridone Rose in the mix. You know me, I have to test everything. So I did do a test, and so this end has more Quinacridone Rose and less Ultramarine Blue, and this end has more Ultramarine Blue. I would say that this here is roughly matches Rose of Ultramarine, and I would say that this here matches Imperial Purple, roughly, which means that it's not the Quinacridone Rose that is the price difference. It's actually the Imperial Purple has less Quinacridone Rose. It just has a lot more Ultramarine Blue in it. It is significantly more Ultramarine Blue than the Rose of Ultramarine has. So that's where the price difference comes from, not the Quinacridone Rose. So looking at the washes themselves, they both create this very beautiful, they're both very beautiful colors. I'm just personally like Rose of Ultramarine's color more, because I think when the Quinacridone Rose and the Ultramarine Blue separate, you will notice more difference in the separation in the Rose of Ultramarine than you do in the Imperial Purple. It washes beautifully on lots of different paper. Rose of Ultramarine is classified as transparent, and the Imperial Purple is classified as semi-opaque. However, on this wash, I would say they're both pretty transparent. I don't think there's a big difference between the two in terms of opacity. Basically, I'd say that these two, in terms of general use, are quite similar. Lifting wise, Rose of Ultramarine did struggle to come off the paper a lot more. The Imperial Purple, because it has more Ultramarine Blue in it, which is very easy to lift, it comes off very easily. Glazing wise, they glaze fine, but I don't think you get much from glazing them. It's not like in episode 2 with the Undersea Green, where if you glazed more, you saw more granulation happening. I don't necessarily think that is true here. In terms of the gauzing, knowing that the Imperial Purple has more Ultramarine Blue in it, it makes sense that with the Imperial Purple, the lines of the gauzing comes out more blue than the Rose of Ultramarine does. However, Rose of Ultramarine does create this beautiful bright pink corally background, whereas in the Imperial Purple, it's kind of a muddy background. Taking a look at how the two colors mix with other colors, again, this side is Rose of Ultramarine and this side is the Imperial Purple. They mix pretty similar to each other. The one very interesting thing that I did notice though was, if you look here, where I mixed Rose of Ultramarine with Ultraviolet from Schmincke, don't you think that's quite similar to the Imperial Purple? Or is that just me? You know? So if you're not that bothered about how many pigments you have on your paper, then you could easily get the Imperial Purple color out of Rose of Ultramarine plus an Ultraviolet. They both add very beautiful granulation to other colors that are not necessarily granulating. However, you can do that by adding Ultramarine Blue to them as well, and predictably, because it has Ultramarine Blue, it doesn't mix very well with the yellows, and because it has the Quinacridone Rose, which neutralizes with the lighter, more yellow-green colors, it neutralizes beautifully around this area. I wouldn't call either of these colors as a mixing color, in that you have to pick and choose which color you can and can't mix it. It's not like Undersea Green in episode 2 where it mixed beautifully with every color. In conclusion, what do I think of these two colors? Well, I've always loved the Rose of Ultramarine, and it's a beautiful color, and I love the unique texture that it gives. It is a convenience mix, and as we saw in this, you can very easily mix your own Rose of Ultramarine or the Imperial Purple. So if you only want to have single pigments on your palette, you totally can have just the Quinacridone Rose and the Ultramarine Blue and mix it yourself very easily. However, I prefer to have convenience mixes on my palette because I quite like throwing paints onto my paper, and it just makes my job easier to have convenient mixes. So that's why I have Rose of Ultramarine on my palette. However, when it comes to Imperial Purple, I have to say I'm not as impressed as the Rose of Ultramarine. Partly that is my fault, because I thought this was going to be a darker color than it actually was. However, do I think this is worth having on my palette in addition to the Rose of Ultramarine? Probably not, because of what we figured out earlier, in that you can easily either make a Imperial Purple by mixing a lot more Ultramarine Blue with a little bit of Rose of Ultramarine, or you can even mix Rose of Ultramarine with the Ultramarine Violet and you get the same thing. So there are many different ways of creating this paint. So for me, I don't think they're worth having both on my palette. They're definitely worth having if you like convenience colors, but it's definitely a one or the other for me personally. The only time I would actually choose Imperial Purple over Rose of Ultramarine would be if I'm gauzing and I want a really intense Ultramarine Blue. But then again, I would probably just go straight for using my Ultramarine Blue if I wanted a really intense blue lines. So I'm not going to be adding Imperial Purple to my palette in a hurry. Which color would you pick? Would you have the Rose of Ultramarine or the Imperial Purple on your palette, or maybe neither, or maybe both? If you have either of these two colors on your palette, please let us know down in the comments below of what you use, how you use these colors in your art. As usual, if you have any questions about either of these paints, please ask away down in the comments. If you have any suggestions of two very similar Daniel Smith colors that you want me to test out and find out what the difference is, please also let me know down in the comments. If this video was useful to you, then please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when the next episode of the Daniel Smith Color Showdown comes out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.